Hello, beautiful souls. I just want to do a quick video. I've been going to the library more, taking small actionable steps towards whatever is coming, just whatever I'm inspired to do. And so I wanted to get on here and share some information that I was guided to kind of just print out. And again, I might start doing this instead of writing it all out in my journal. So now I have print copies of this information. All right. I was going to get my glasses, but I should be okay. So what came through listening to another transmission this morning, there was a peak in walk-in souls and soul, which is walk-in soul or soul exchange. It's not the first time I heard this. I heard this months ago and questioned it because it resonated. And then now what is currently resonating is a soul infusion. So they didn't say soul walk-in. So I've heard soul walk-ins. Please go look at Sheila Seppi and Ken Lloyd. They did a video together a while back that might explain that, and that's where my team presented it in front of me as awareness. So this is just information and awareness. Take what resonates and leave what does not. But what is going to be taking place as we continue to evolve and go through this experience in this awakening process, this ascension, you're going to notice, you've probably maybe already been noticing soul aspects being returned, or maybe you are a soul walk-in / exchange, you resonate with that, or you are going to become or are becoming right now integrating in what is the soul infusion. All right, and then we'll talk a little bit about the monad, the higher, in the oversoul. That's just, again, take what resonates. All right, so the soul, what is the soul? Hopefully some of you know this by now, but I like to have the words. The soul is often described as the eternal spark behind the personality. It's the traveler that exists before birth and after death. Your mind changes, your body changes, your emotions rise and fall. But the soul is imagined as the deeper current beneath all of it, okay? It is the witness, the memory carrier, the energetic signature, the note your being sings into existence, okay? So what created everything? Sound, frequency. All right? So in some traditions, see the soul as a singular and indivisible. Some traditions see the soul as singular and indivisible. Others see it as layered, like the oversoul, the monad, the higher self, fragments, aspects, and timelines. Okay? In like using this metaphysical language, the body is the instrument, and I love this. This is a great breakdown, co-creation. The personality is the song, and the soul is the musician. Just love the way, like I said, this was broken down into like understandable information. So what is a walk-in / soul exchange? Okay, a walk-in is a spiritual concept, not really a concept, it is a thing, where one soul leaves the body and the other soul enters it, usually after major life events. So in Sheila Seppi's case, it was, I think, severe illness. And some people, it's like severe trauma, like maybe, I had a lot of trauma at a very young age, at birth especially. So it's severe trauma, illness, coma, near-death experiences, and profound awakening. This can potentially take place, but the idea is not usually described as a possession or force. This is not force. This is not possession. Instead, it is a frame in which, as a soul level, this is something at the soul level. So this is something agreed upon before incarnation, that this would take place. Okay, where one soul completes its lessons and says, "I'm done," but before it transitions, and in presence of transition, from my understanding, the other soul now signs, okay, now it's passing the baton type of thing is what's coming through right now. It's like one soul says, all right, I've learned my lessons, I'm going to pass the baton, you've got a body now. Does that make sense? Okay. So some of you might not be original natal souls. So I heard this word natal soul. So from Sheila Seppi, like you may not be your original natal soul. Maybe you experience severe trauma, near-death experience or whatever, and you never know, because sometimes there's remembrance and sometimes there's not. The soul will let you know when it's time to know. The idea, let's see here. So one soul completes its lesson and the other arrives to continue using the same physical vessel. All right? People who resonate with the concept of soul walk-ins or exchanges, so you have the sudden feeling of like a completely different person, like literally black to white. Loss of identification with their life, okay? Rapid spiritual awakening, new gifts / interests and personality traits. So there's a definite new gifts are being present. You have different interests and definitely new personality traits, all right? And there's also grief for the former identity that might present itself. Cosmically, it is imagined less like someone taking over, because that's not what it is. And it's more of one traveler stepping off the train. I love this again. And one stepping on real quick. So it's one stepping off. I'm done with this journey. The other one steps in. All right? And takes the seat quietly. Some spiritual communities see walk-ins as rare and purposeful. But I think, again, go watch some of Sheila Seppi's stuff from like 6 months ago, a year ago, or even more. I think we're going to start experiencing this more and more as we are going through this ascension process, okay? So, again, some spiritual communities see walk-ins more as rare and purposeful, and this is definitely often tied to service, healing, and accelerated evolution for humanity, okay? That's why there's an exchange, all right? So a soul infusion, which I resonate with, is what I've been going through for a while now. And I've been saying this for months, where like literally more aspects of my higher self has been commanding the wheel, or driving the wheel, I guess, taking the wheel. So soul infusion is usually described differently. Instead of one soul leaving the other and the other replacing it, it's the original soul. The original soul remains, but becomes more fully embodied or blended with higher aspects of yourself. So this is what's going to happen when the first waivers hatch completely and the switch gets flipped, is you're going to fully infuse and fully embody and blend with your higher aspects of itself. That's why you will have what might superhuman, metahuman type abilities, okay? It is imagined as more light entering your system, your field, higher consciousness anchoring in the physical body. So remember, anchoring more in the physical body, which is the point of ascension right now, in the physical body, and integration of the higher self, awakening dormant spiritual memory. All right, people describe this as heightened intuition, expanded awareness, stronger compassion, and feeling more themselves than ever. Okay? All right, in this burst of creativity or inner knowing. I completely resonate with all of that, okay? If a walk-in is imagined as changing the musician, all right, so if you imagine that the walk-in is like changing your musician, the soul infusion is more like the musician is remembering the full symphony that they came to play, okay? This turned out so good. I was so happy with this. All right. So, some traditions also describe soul infusions as merging with higher dimensional aspects, future selves, soul family frequencies, and divine intelligence. Now, again, I think there's a reason Source had me kind of get to doing this and to share this through my frequency and energy. One, because I believe I'm experiencing this right now, but the more and more you create the space, the more you're going to be infusing or pulling down and embodying those aspects, okay? The energetic feel of each concept, right, the soul. So the concept, we've got soul. The feeling is your eternal essence, frequency, flavor, and color. The walk-in is a change of the traveler. That's the spiritual feeling. A soul infusion is an expansion of light within the same traveler. Hopefully that resonates. 911 on the timer. A grounded note is experiences people interpret through these frameworks can also overlap with a very human experience, like identity transformation, trauma recovery, spiritual awakening, dissociation, grief, neurological and or psychological shifts. For some people, the language of soul and cosmic identity provides meaning and comfort. For others, it doesn't resonate at all. So again, we always say, take what resonates, leave what does not. 944 on the timer. For some people, the language of soul, sorry, I already read that. So you don't have to believe these concepts to explore them symbolically or spiritually, okay? So I went on further because I got that, and I'm like, all right, so was there anything that I missed? And there was, and I forgot about this myself. And that's soul fragmentation, soul retrieval. And this is 10:10 on the timer. This is what I've been calling back, and I believe done some videos on calling your soul pieces back that were fragmented because of trauma, hurt, and pain, whatever. Because that's what I don't know what word I want to use, the stranger things we're trying to do to the starseeds at an early age to fragment their psyche and fragment their soul and create this fragmentation to keep them stuck and disassociated in all this confusion and all of that, okay? So if you haven't, 1044, I would recommend finding a calling, and then maybe I can find something to have you call back your soul fragments. You can do this in meditation, telepathically, you can do this verbally. I've got a lot of throat chakra upgrading going on right now. It started yesterday afternoon. So soul fragmentation / soul retrieval is the idea that says that the soul can split off during trauma, grief, and shock and intense experiences. I just mentioned that. I haven't even read this fully through, so I'm interesting how it's in alignment. So some people describe the feeling as numb, not all here, and disconnected from joy or vitality. Soul retrieval is found in some shamanic traditions, very, very prominent in the shamanic world. Maybe you connect with being a shaman in this lifetime or many lifetimes, as I do, earthly and cosmically. In the process of calling those lost aspects back home, back to its original point, source, okay? Cosmically, the parts of your light get fragmented and wandered into the wilderness, to sort of say. So these parts get fragmented, these pieces of you. This light wanders into the wilderness and are invited back into the fire. So we have all set by the fire. I just got this beautiful imagery where the sparks are going off into the woods. Now you're calling that back into the original source, the original flame, the original spark. All right, so your oversoul and your higher self. All right. So rather than one isolated soul, some traditions describe a larger consciousness, an oversoul. And we'll talk about the monad because the monad is even more above that. And you can, again, do your due diligence and get curious and have fun with this, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4 on the timer. Thank you. All right. So rather than one isolated soul, some traditions describe a larger consciousness, the oversoul, expressing itself through multiple lifetimes, dimensions, and incarnations. Your current self is one facet of a larger crystal. In this view, intuition equals messages from your higher self. Synchronicities equals alignment signals, codes. Awakening is remembering your larger identity. And something wanted to come through and I just lost it. So if it comes back, I will address it. Okay, yes, if you don't realize from the monad, I believe there's 12 times 12 times 12, which is there's 1,000 and something parts of you all over the place. Okay? You guys, I can't remember who that was from. All right, so parallel selves and timeline selves. So we all know this. Every time you make a choice, you spurse off and create another timeline, another version of yourself, okay? Remember, everything's going to come back in like a vacuum, back to self, and you're going to if you might be already starting to do this, absorb, incorporate, and embody these pieces, these other timeline selves, like other timelines are collapsing, you're going to pull that back into this timeline, all right? So some spiritual systems believe aspects of you exist simultaneously across all timelines, dimensions, spaces, places, realms, portals, all of that, okay? People sometimes describe sudden personality shifts, vivid dreams, or alternate lives. I've been experiencing this. Many of you probably have 1414 in dreams that you're like, it's like a completely different reality, different timeline. Like family members are showing up that I haven't spoke to in years, old people, old job places. It's really bizarre. So you're experiencing, so I don't know if something's wrapping up or you're learning just another lesson or you're just cleaning up. I'm not sure what's going on there, but that might resonate. Vivid dreams of alternate lives. I've been experiencing it. I can't fully remember that either. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Unexplained skills or fears and intense deja vu. I've had some deja vu these past few days. Like, this feels familiar. like, I feel like I've said this is experience. Don't have a lot of full-on deja vu, but definitely I think it was yesterday or the day before. I was like, something feels familiar here, like I was already doing this, or this already happened, which it has. And that's a bleed through from parallel expressions of the consciousness. So cosmically, your soul is a prism casting many versions of itself across reality. So take a crystal, a quartz, and watch how it fragments the light. That's a good way to put it. Now, when you talk about twin souls, which I also resonate with, it is very romanticized, unfortunately, popular spiritual concept where two beings are mirrors of the same energetic essence. You share the same frequency, okay? In relationship, it is often described as magnetic, catalytic, which it is. It's a catalytic state for awakening, intense, emotionally intense, spiritually transformative. Check, check, and check. All right? The purpose is usually framed as, typically it's framed as this romance and more accelerated evolution of self-confrontation. So it's basically that mirroring of self, waking oneself up through the other part of you. So I've described this, I've heard this described. You've got one stream of light or frequency, and it decides to embody and incarnate in two bodies in that you are remembering. Now, here's the thing. It's not the pink fluffy stuff that's romanticized, okay? And that's not where you want to go down that. That's, like my false twin flame, all of this bullshit, that's karmic bullshit. That's just trying to keep you distracted. So remember, this is not a romanticized connection experience when it comes to twin souls. You'll know, I think at this point, fully for sure, if you are connected to another spark that is your other piece, I guess, fragment. All right, so discernment is huge. And the more you evolve, the more you tap in, the more you do all the clearing and healing and all of that, your discernment will get so sharp. Your lie detector, your human lie detector will be like, spidey senses will be like tenfold, okay? So soulmates and soul families. So instead of one half, many traditions describe groups of souls who repeatedly incarnate together in different roles: parent, child, friend, rival, teacher, healer, lover, etc. All right? The idea is that souls travel in constellations. Yeah, constellations, which I heard that earlier. Stars. Yeah, groups of stars. Constellations. Help each other evolve through many forms of relationships. Okay? Possession versus attachment, all right, in parentheses, are very different from walk-ins. All right, some traditions distinguish between temporary energetic attachments. I've experienced those. We all probably have. In intrusive energy entities, okay, or possessional states. Okay? These concepts exist in religious and occult systems worldwide, but interpretations vary greatly. In modern life, experiences described this way can also overlap with psychological distress, trauma, or altered states. And there's a whole thing you can go. Unlike walk-ins, these are usually described as unwanted or destabilizing. All right? Starseeds. There's many names here, but starseeds was also brought up. A modern spiritual belief that some souls originated from other realms, planets, dimensions, spaces, places, portals, before incarnating on Earth. Raise your hand. I'm an intergalactic starseed. Intergalactic here. I'm not an, Earthbound soul. All right, what is that? Earth soul? Yes, Earth soul. I'm an intergalactic, and I found this out through Akashic readings, but I already knew that beforehand. I knew my soul did not originate on planet Earth. And most of you can resonate with that, okay? Or not. All right, so people who resonate with this often feel different from humanity, homesick from somewhere unknown, deeply drawn to the cosmos, multidimensional feelings, mission-oriented, wanting to help humanity in some way, shape, or form. What else? Round peg, square hole, black sheep. There's so many terms, okay? Common origins some people might mention are Pleiadian, Arcturian, Syrian, Andromedan, Lyran, many, okay? And maybe some of us are from places that we don't have a name for or a word for, okay? I heard that the other day too, which made sense. So ascension, light body activation, beautiful how everything's I just love co-creating and setting up my algorithm, because it's like, again, what I can get, like, yeah, it's just deeply connected. All right, so ascension and your light body activation. This is the idea of where your consciousness can evolve into a higher vibrational state, because that's what we're going through. Symptoms people associate with this are heightened intuition, emotional purging, sensitive to energy, vivid synchronicities, and altered perceptions of time. Have anyone here, raise your hand, been experiencing this for a while? Okay. The light body is imagined as more of a refined energetic structure awakening in the human experience. It is your multidimensional, it's your light body. Okay. Channeling. All right. So this is going in a little off here. We got going into a little bit different direction, which most of you are probably verbal channels, whether you realize it or not. Some people believe consciousness can temporarily transmit wisdom or energy through them from guides, ancestors, higher selves, and cosmic intelligence. This ranges from subtle inspiration to full trance states, depending on the situation. I've been channeling without knowing I was channeling most of my health and wellness part of it, where I get into this full channel flow state. And I've said this before, that if someone asks me, what did you just have confirmation, or what was your consultation about? If I didn't write things down, I still had really no idea, because whatever's coming through, I'm not meant to remember. The person that I'm talking to will remember that conversation, okay? And I've gone into a couple full-blown channeled states. It happened about a month ago in a class, which is interesting, all right? Incarnate contracts. All right, these are souls chosen. You choose your themes. Souls choose your themes, lessons before your birth. And this, you can say, let's say I'm choosing to experience trauma, and that can look mild, moderate, or severe. And it can go different ways, okay? So this can, before birth, you're choosing themes and lessons, relationships, challenges, gifts, karmic balancing, service paths, like I said, traumas, and these different experiences, okay? Not usually framed as rigid fate. These are your choices. People are like, why the fuck would I choose to have all of this happen to me? Well, it's so your soul can grow, learn, and expand, because that's all the soul wants to do, is expand and grow and to learn. All right, so the underlying theme is most of these systems revolve around a few core ideas. Consciousness is larger than the personality, okay? Identity is fluid. Awakening involves remembering. Life has symbolic and spiritual dimensions. Relationships shape evolution. And different traditions might tell stories differently, but they're often trying to answer the same ancient question. What are we beneath the surface of this quote-unquote 3D ordinary life? All right? So we're going to go a little deeper into this before we finish. This is going to be a little longer video today. We are going to talk about the monad. And then I might go back and do 3 separate ones explaining the 3 different groups. So if you're still here, thanks for hanging out with us. So the monad. The monad is often described as the original divine spark. It's like this original divine spark, all right? And I've heard tentacles and octopus tentacles was like the basic simple way of describing what the monad is. It's within the monad, and there's so much within the monad, because everything's infinite and all of that. So it's the original divine spark, pure source consciousness, the highest level of your spiritual identity before separation into individual expressions. In some traditions, the monad is beyond individuality altogether. The monad is beyond individuality altogether. Timeless, unified, and closer to God's source, prime creator consciousness. Untouched by incarnation. Cosmically, the monad is the sun. The oversoul, so we're going down, the oversoul is usually imagined as an intermediary or collective expression of the monad. It may project multiple souls, lifetimes, parallel selves, incarnations, soul aspects. The oversoul still has a distinct energetic identity, but it is broader than one's human life. If the monad is the sun, The oversoul is a great beam of light of that sun. All right, the oversoul, the monad is the sun. The oversoul is a great beam of that sunlight. All right, because that's what you are. You're light. Individual soul then comes in the individual soul expression, the incarnation, the current traveler, the aspect of experiencing this life. You, me, we. Okay? This is you moving through this human experience. If the oversoul is the beam, the individual soul is one ray within that beam. Why people confuse them, the monad and the oversoul. Okay, different traditions blend or redefine these terms. Between theology, Gnosticism, Hermeticism, New Age systems, channeling traditions, and Kabbalistic adaptations. All right, some use higher self, oversoul, and monad interchangeably. Others make very precise hierarchies. There is no universally agreed upon map. Energetically speaking, the concept of the monad is pure divine source identity. The oversoul is the greater soul collective / higher field. The soul is the individual incarnating aspect, and the personality is the temporary human experience. So, a poetic way to feel it is, the personality says, I am this person. The soul says, I am the traveler. The oversoul's, I am all the journeys. And the monad says, I am the light from which all journeys emerge. I was so lit up when that came through that it was like, I've got to share this. And it just unfolded beautifully right down to that last little bit. All right. Take what resonates. Get curious. Do your own little research. And I do definitely like to it's nice to give that tear down and tear up because it's all connected. This infinity symbol. All right. Constantly connecting. All right. But again, you're going to start probably experiencing calling aspects of yourself will be returning. You can do that. You can say those things. But also the soul infusion is going to be taking place more and more, and maybe potential more soul walk-ins, or if there's a walk-in, it might not be a full soul exchange. But again, Sheila Seppi was great. She was a great tool. There's probably many other people. Ken Lloyd is another version. So Ken is more like a soul infusion, and Sheila Seppi is a soul exchange walk-in. All right, so if you want there, believe me, go check that out. If I remember, I will link that. But again, Sheila Seppi, Ken Lloyd, the KDC, soul infusion, soul exchange / walk-in. All right, I am you, you are me, and we've got this. All right, and information is knowledge, and wisdom is we can stand in our power to help us remember who we are, and we're each here to remind each other of who we are. I'm here to remind you of your power, of your greatness, of your royal blood lineage, your God and goddessness. You are so powerful. The human species is the most powerful being because we have 22 different strands of genetic makeup in our DNA, which will start being activated and fully coming online. It is not junk DNA. It's just dormant right now. All right, I love you. From my heart to yours. Oh, shinut oria, shinut iria, shinut oria, shinut iria, shinut oha, shinut orio, shinut oria, shinut iria. We'll see you soon. Bye.